Tesla in trouble, potentially big trouble. So we're going to be talking this evening about Tesla's layoffs, their slumping sales, yes, even a recall. Yes, a recall at Tesla. I actually said that. They don't do a whole lot of them. Ford does a ton of them. Is Ford in trouble for doing a ton of recalls affecting hundreds of thousands of people? So we've got Ford Bronco news, we've got Ford Maverick news, and Ford Bronco Sport news. We might even talk about the all-new 2024 Ford Ranger this evening, and my pick for best value and which one I would wait and hold off to get, which I'm going to be doing. I've got a Ford Ranger on order. So this evening we're going to be talking about 450,000 Ford Mavericks and Bronco Sports recalled. We're going to be talking about how Broncos either already have really they're getting loaded up at dealers. Are dealers screwed, or are you going to be getting a great deal pretty soon and should wait to buy? Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Broncos just piling up at dealers, and whether dealers are screwed or whether us as customers we're going to get possibly a great deal. So that's going to be great. We're going to be talking exactly about what this Ford Maverick and Bronco Sport recall is affecting 450,000-ish customers, buyers, owners. So that's pretty serious, and that does lead to the title up here, Ford and Tesla in trouble. Tesla having sales go down is a pretty big deal. So you're going to want to watch this if you're an auto enthusiast, or if you have stocks in either Tesla or Ford. If you are a stockholder, this is the show. This is the live you're going to want to see. I'm going to cover this live. You can ask questions. I'll do my best to get to them. If not, Ridgeview is going to help out. We've got the best moderator right here. Good evening, folks. Let's talk about these recalls. Let's talk about how serious this, big trouble for both Ford and Tesla really is. And then at the end of this live, please make it over for 6:45 p.m. So that's going to be in about 43 minutes. Make it over for a little adventure we took trying to pick up and buy the cheapest Porsche 911. Folks. Douglas Blair, thank you very much for making it into the live. I want to thank Space Tech for the assistance this week, and thank, of course, all the members. You really help keep this show going, and you're really supporting this small family business. JMB, yeah, 450,000. And we'll get to the exact numbers and the exact problems in just a moment. Just want to thank all the members. A huge special thank you for you all for keeping this show going. And also, if you're a subscriber, thank you very much. That's what keeps the show going. And if you are a subscriber, please turn on the bell notification. Otherwise, you very well might not get a notification or have any idea that we just put out a new episode. And we need those early views. We need a lot of early views for YouTube to consider even suggesting the material to the other 13,000 subscribers. Sometimes they'll only suggest it to 500 or 1,000 of the 13,000 subscribers. And if you get the notification, even if you don't have time right away to watch, if you just hit that button, play it in the background, and if you want to watch it later, fantastic. But at least getting those early views will really help the channel out. Now, if you are coming into the show, please just join in the comment section. We've got a great live audience here. Really kind people. Over the years, I can tell you we've gotten a lot of help and assistance from the live chat. Just fantastic people in the live chat. They are people you'll want to meet. You'll slowly make friends with them over time through the live chat, and probably will end up, I'd say good chances you'll end up meeting them. Now, something I couldn't make it out to Florida with Layla being a newborn, but this summer I really want to go up Mount Washington as a group. So stay tuned for that. Let's get right down to business. Let's put the pedal to the metal and cover this important information. Now, I'm not going to make you wait to the end of the episode because I know a lot of you are huge Ford Maverick, Bronco Sport, and Bronco fans. So let's make episode 1 this evening, all about the Bronco, and then we'll move on to the Maverick. Might even talk about Tesla almost near the end. We'll save that Ranger information for the very end. And no, this isn't going to be a 2-hour live, because we've got a premiere. That means I'm going to be chatting in the chat for that all-new Porsche 911. You can check it out. Is it a horror store? Can you safely buy a used Porsche 911, or is it just pure insanity? Well, I bought the cheapest one. Find out in regards to either, well, whether you want to call it an adventure or a nightmare. It'll let you know what buying an older used European vehicle is like. I hope you got a big pair, because it can be pretty nerve-wracking and stressful. Now, let's get right into it. Let's get right into talking about the Ford Bronco. So episode 1's about to start, folks. Thank you so much for making your presence known in the chat. Make some friends there. Great, great, great community. So let's jump right into Ford Bronco talk. I wish I had a more recent photo of all these Broncos that are loaded up at dealerships, but let's just get right into the episode anyways, because we've got great info to cover whether we have the perfect photo or not. So I'm just going to note this down, because afterwards we turn these into mini episodes so you can watch it at your leisure if you don't like sitting down through a whole entire live. So episode 1 starting right up. Ford Broncos they're either gonna pile up at your local dealership, or they already have piled up at your local dealership. My dealership right now has easily 8. We are literally piling them up in the front. Despite me buying one of them last summer, I have some Broncos going back to fall 2023, late summer 2023. This was a late summer. This is actually my order. I took control of my order, but so it's not one of the ones that would have piled up. But right now, actually at the front of our dealership, we've got about 6 Broncos piled up, and we even have a few out back. So they are piling up. They're not selling as fast as they're coming in. And you know, the question is worth asking, because I know there's going to be some YouTube titles, thumbnails coming out saying Ford Broncos aren't selling, dealers are screwed. I know that's going to be the title. I'm foreshadowing here. I'm not playing, Captain Obvious and saying things after the fact as if everyone should have known. I'm telling you this is going to happen. But hold on. Are dealers screwed, or is this going to be a great opportunity to get a fantastic deal? I've got a little historical evidence, I'm going to call it, some data to share with you, local, personal, but also nationwide, and not just nationwide, between countries. So let's talk a bit about this. This is kind of huge. So, and you know what else is huge? A Bronco versus a Porsche 911. Look at that size difference. So that's what I wanted right there. Big, beautiful Bronco. Broncos are great machines. They are definitely worth getting. You're going to hear a lot of negativity on YouTube about how, dealers are screwed because they see them piled up now. And that comes down to price, folks, because these are amazing machines. Actual owners of Broncos, you'll rarely ever hear anything negative coming from actual owners of Broncos. We've gone up Mount Washington with this, with our other Broncos. We did a lot of beach driving. We did some a good amount of rock climbing with Ford's Broncos, and did some off-roading at my parents' domain with one of our Broncos, as well as our Ford F-150 Raptor. They are incredibly comfortable. We have gone down to Florida several times now, starting up in the north here and driving all the way down. We're in the Great North, Canada, driving all the way down to Florida. Last year, we actually did the run last year in 2023 straight. And on the way back, we drove through a snowstorm, and those BF Goodrich KO2 tires, by the way, they're great in the sand, they're great in the snow, they're great all over the place, but those seats were incredibly comfortable. It has its ups and its downs, and as we went and catch our future video, don't forget to like and subscribe, because as we drove for about 5-6 hours in the day to go pick up the new Porsche for the channel, I did a little inside review about long distance driving this, covering seat comfort, handling, and whatnot. But the reason they're piling up is because previously, for the last several months, well, since they've basically from the beginning, unless you're original order, the price, MSRP prices on these has, of course, gone up. And that's not what's killing the Bronco. They've gone up all over the place. What's hurting the Bronco is actually the interest rate. The interest rate for the longest time was playing around 8%. Just like on the new 2024 Ford Ranger, it's currently at 7.99. Why? Because, well, there's very few to none around and a lot of demand. Well, Bronco demand hasn't exactly crashed naturally. Bronco demand has gone down because, well, a lot of people who ordered their Broncos are waiting for them and have actually already gotten them. But Bronco demand is also going down for the pure and simple reason that when you price one out with the increased MSRP and taking into account a 7%, 8%, 7.99 interest rate, a lot of people can't afford it. And this doesn't mean dealers are screwed. Dealers will have to support these until prices come down. And dealerships are going to be putting pressure on Ford, I can tell you. Dealerships have already put pressure on Ford to drop the interest rate. And that's why we saw the interest rate, because dealerships get upset when they're paying as dealers, we also pay 7 to 8% interest, roughly 7%, 7.5% on what's on our lot. We're not just being, shipped these vehicles from Ford and being told, oh, well, sell them when you want and Ford pays interest on them. No, as soon as they show up at the dealerships, we pay, as dealers, we pay the interest on these machines. So we put pressure on Fords once they start to build up, being like, hey, Ford, these aren't selling. We don't want to pay 7% interest every single month on, let's say we have $500,000 worth or more of Broncos on the lot. We put pressure. And the same thing happened. The same story is true for some other models. So here's a little historical proof and evidence. What happened in the past with models that were piling up at dealerships? Well, here's an example of one. Ford Mustang Mach-E, as well as the Ford Lightning, dealerships like mine had millions, tens of millions of dollars in Lightning and Mach-E. At one point, we had 106 Mach-E's available for sale, and many of them had been on the lot for months and months. A whole lot of pressure started to get applied by dealers who were getting very fed up of paying 7% interest. When you've got, $26, $28 million of inventory, new vehicle inventory, and you're paying 7% interest on that, well, per year, that's going to be more than $2 million of interest per year. That's wild. So what does Ford do with all this pressure? Because eventually Ford can't just play hardball. If there's 106 Mach-E's 2023s sitting on the lots, there's not going to be, dealers will refuse the 2024s. And there's a huge cost to just, cutting production, in half or quartering production and changing plans and contracts that you've already built out with your suppliers. You can't just promise and make a contract to pick up, 200,000 of X part from a supplier and then tell them, it's going to be 50. There are severe consequences to doing that. So Ford needs space on dealer lots. Any manufacturer wants to have a decent relationship with their dealership. So when you've got dealerships clamoring, saying, look, we don't want to be paying all this interest, help us move the metal. Mach-E interest, when, at one point, this machine, if you're looking at a premium extended range battery, beginning of 2023, they're $15,000 more expensive. Sometime around summer, they took $10,000 off, summer 2023. Then recently, because we had 106 of them, Ford took another $5,000 off and went from an all-time high. At one point, we had 7 or 8% interest on these, all the way down to 0.99, not even, essentially 1% interest for a lease, or $299 or $399 on a purchase, and those 106 Mustang Mach-E's sold within 6 or 7 weeks. Essentially a year's supply sold within 7 weeks. So the Ford Bronco isn't going to have to get to that level of insanity. We're not going to get 106 Ford Broncos waiting in the yard before Ford drops the price. That's just not going to happen. And, Ford already did drop the price on the Bronco, but in a less evident way. They almost halved. Interest rates were at 7.99. Now a 2023 Ford Bronco, like the one I'm driving right here, my 2023 Ford Bronco, originally because I was able to reserve my 6.99 interest rate, because when it showed up, interest rates were at 8%. I got 6.99, so I saved a little interest because I reserved it. But of course, I did a COVP, a confirmed order verification process, gave my driver's license, printed off my contracts myself, signed them and whatnot, sent that off to Ford. So basically guaranteed, confirmed my order with Ford so I could reserve the MSRP price from when I ordered, as well as the interest rate. Interest rate that I bought in July 6th, 2023. Interest rates were basically at 8%. Now, where are they at? 3.99% interest. And if you have a soft top, if you're looking at shopping for a soft top, you can also get, I believe from recollection, it's about $3,000 off for taking the soft top. So there's a soft top rebate as well as much better interest. Now the 2024s are 1% higher in interest and no rebate. But if you're looking for a 2024 Bronco because you like the new standard, no extra charge, so standard 12, the WB, thank you for pointing that out. We'll get to talking a little bit more about the Maverick and its ride very shortly, because we will have a little Ford Maverick section, of course. But for the Ford Bronco, your 2024s, if you prefer the 2024 because it comes standard with rubberized floors with the drain plug, the 12-inch screen, those are fantastic added value. It's just a question of waiting a few months at most to get a better deal. Either the interest rate's going to come down or a better rebate, or a mix a bit of both. Now, for the 2024 Ford Maverick, I am going to go out and test drive it and see if the suspension is smoother, because yes, we also noticed that, whether from the 2022s or 2023s that I've driven, I have found that suspension to be quite stiff, but makes up for it by handling really well in the corners, and also makes up for it for how much weight you can actually add to the vehicle. Extremely excusable. But the 2024, I can tell you, I've only driven it in a parking lot. So I don't want to come out and say and promise that, it's smoother. I can tell you that I drove it in the parking lot, and at no point did my brain go, oh yeah, good old stiff Ford Maverick, which is usually the impression I get from driving a Ford Maverick. I'm like, oh yeah, this is stiff. And that was my last road test of one, was for about 40 minutes, and I drove through some pretty horrible roads, and I was explaining it to my friend and customer. I was explaining to him like, hey, this is the downside. The upside is that handling in the corners. Showed him the handling in the corner. He's like, I can't believe a truck actually does that. So that was actually pretty cool, but I'll have to get back to you because right now I have not done an extensive test on the 2024's drive. So Ford Broncos are going to pile up, or already have piled up. Our dealership, our Broncos, have piled up because they're at 8% interest for quite a long period of time. Now, on the 2023s, the interest has come down. They've thrown a rebate, but they're still not moving that fast. And I think Ford's gonna, I know Ford's looking at this. They know exactly what is on the dealer lots, what's left. And when they see the 2023s aren't selling crazy fast with this rebate, it's going to be the story of the Mach-E. Very few sales at the beginning of 2023 are not the sales that they wanted to see. They started seeing them pile up. They dropped the price by 10,000. Come 2 months ago, they saw, wow, dealerships have an insane amount of Mach-E's. We've been hearing them clamor about the interest they're paying on them. They've been asking for help. Let's take 5,000 off and, take 5% interest, take a ton of interest off. The deal got so much better, premium big extended range battery in early 2023 was about $1,400 and ended up being about $900 now. And we've also seen it for the Ford F-150. The Ford F-150 at, not that long ago had no rebate and a good amount of interest. And now if you take, this month, interest is still relatively high. It's lower than the interest that Ford's paying. So it's lower than 7%, but it comes with a $7,000 or $8,000 rebate, just like the Ford F-150 Lightning, which had also over piled up on dealer lots. They went from a high interest rate to offering very, very low interest rate and then switching that up by trying, a happy medium, like average interest rate, but with an $8,000 rebate, and it's getting the Lightnings to move. So the great news is wait a little and you will get a great deal on a Ford Bronco. If you love the Ford Bronco, you're in for a real treat real soon, folks. So please like and subscribe. Help us put the pedal to the metal. So hit that bell notification to not miss out. We're going to be talking now for the next episode. We're going to be talking about those Maverick pesky. This is a pretty huge deal. Ford is going to be in a bit of trouble. This is going to be costly. We've got a little over 450,000 Ford Mavericks and Ford Broncos getting recalled. Kind of huge. So Tesla is in some trouble, maybe huge trouble. Ford is in a bit of trouble. If you're a shareholder, you're going to want to hear this out. You're going to want to listen to this information and make a decision whether you think this is going to affect share price. Share price at Ford has gone down. I'm not too stressed. Share prices at Ford seem to always bounce between $11 to $15. And anytime it starts to get near the 15 mark, sometimes at 13, sometimes at 14, it seems to go back down. It's almost one of those plays that you can just keep buying in low, selling when you start to feel it's a little high, and then buy back a month or two later when it's lower. But you need to pay attention to that Ford and Tesla news to be able to do such moves. I think Tesla might be in some more longer term trouble. I think there might be some stock pricing might get hurt for the next 6 months to even over a year. Ford, I don't know how long. I don't see this being a huge hit long term, but you might want to consider this and know this before buying for your Ford Maverick. So let's get over to that article here. And we will get here in just a moment. Thank you very much for staying tuned with us. Gonna make it over to the Ford Maverick information. As we go through, we can see right here. Thank you very much for Jessica for showing her Bronco. This really fully wraps up our last Bronco episode. The Bronco is incredibly safe, and Fords in general are incredibly safe. And that's why I think Ford long term is going to do well, because people value safety. Mind you, Volvos are very safe and their sales aren't so hot, but Ford also makes exciting, fun vehicles that are safe. But this recall is a pretty big one. So this Jessica's shared this with the Bronco community over at Bronco Nation, and it's pretty impressive. Ford, over the years I've seen some pretty intense crashes and lots of damage to the vehicles with occupants walking away. So I think Ford's going to get through this. I'm positive Ford's going to bounce back. But we've got over 450,000 Ford Mavericks Bronco Sports recalled for shutting off while driving. Pretty big deal. This is going to upset people. And we'll have to see. It's going to really upset people if it affects people. But you've got the fact also that vehicles may also fail to restart. So this is an article from James Gilboy. You can go check that out. So thank you very much. A good article. You'll want to check it out. So the Ford Maverick, we've got a problem here. Failing to restart is one issue, but shutting down while driving is a huge issue. Really, really big problem here. So you can check that out over at his handles. You can see them up top. James Gilboy on Instagram or James Gilboy on Twitter. So he's just pointing out that Ford has recalled both the Bronco Sport and the Maverick. And this is pretty big because it's for 2021 Bronco Sport crossovers and 2022 as well as 2023 Maverick pickups. According to the official recall document, the NHTSA became aware of it in October, that the vehicles are prone to failures to start or even loss of power while driving, then leading to a no start condition. So very problematic. Now, the issue comes down to the vehicle's 12-volt batteries needing to be replaced. That's when investigators found the ultimate cause of what was going on with these batteries. So that's, the whole story of the Mavericks going into sleep mode and draining the battery. It looks like this is what's linked here. For people who've been following this closely, you know all about this. So you've got your 2021 and newer Bronco Sports, your 2022, 2023 Ford Maverick pickups. In total, over 450,000 being affected. Numbers for the Maverick, 53,587. So that's a lot of Ford Mavericks of total production. And for the Bronco Sport, 402,978 Bronco Sports. So you've got both of them implicated in the recall. Now, what's the issue here? Well, there were reports of fire and there was 3 unverified reports of fire and 2 of property damage, though no injuries. So Ford will begin notifying owners of affected vehicles when recall service is available starting May 13th. The service will involve visiting a dealer, and of course, it's going to be free. And the modules in question are going to, of course, be updated at no charge. Now, that's a great question. What is the NHTSA recall to pick up on it? Well, I've got a feeling we can find that pretty quick if we go over to the internet. We'll check this out here. So, Ford Maverick recall, NHTSA. It's the most recent one. And anyways, at the NHTSA website, you can actually put in your VIN number and see if you're affected by it. TSB SSM notice. Note that's earlier, November 22nd. We've got, now if anyone has that, if anyone's playing around with the internet right now and can get to it before I can, that would be great. I don't have a VIN number to put in on the NHTSA website. Otherwise, I would definitely do that. Okay, here, no, rear turn signal. I'm sorry, folks, it's going to take a little bit too long to do this live, but Google, just drop in a Google for Ford Maverick and Bronco Sport recent recall. Lawrence Merrick, thank you so much. You've put it right down there in the live chat, so check out the live chat, folks. You'll get the number right from Lawrence. Thank you very much. 45S45. So let's head back to some of these, back to the show here, back to the planned show. So yeah, that's a big deal. And it's not going to stop me from getting a Ford Maverick. No product is perfect when it comes out. What makes a product better is recalls. And that's why I'm so happy. We'll get to the story, but it's good that Tesla is finally doing more recalls. Recalls need to get done. No manufacturer makes a perfect recall. You know, if you've been following the channel, you'll know I've covered shocking news from Toyota has been all about hiding problems, sending, vehicles for safety crash testing with good, proper airbags, but then sending them to dealers with not the same airbag model. So known problem being completely hidden up. Very, very serious. It's good. Ford is excessive with the recalls. They often affect a lot of owners. And there's also many. You'll see over the years, Ford has often been the king of recalls. But the product's good. Now, most of that has been during all the excessive recalls. And Ford's going to be in big trouble financially if they continue at this pace, because it hasn't always been the case. You look back at 2019 here. So I've got this JD Power 2019 US initial quality study. They look at, basically how many times you go to the dealer when the vehicle is new. And you can see that in 2019, Ford was at the top. They're the fourth. They're essentially, JD Power was saying Ford as a brand is the fourth most reliable. Go and get yourself a Ford. They're also saying Genesis here. We had a little issue there. So JD Power 2019 US initial quality study was saying that Genesis, Kia, Hyundai, and then Ford were the most reliable brands to get to. Now, it does say here that charts and graphs, previous media economy statement, and defined. But yeah, okay. So they look at its initial quality. They're looking at what problems arise when the vehicle is new. It's not going to prevent me from getting a Ford Maverick. I would say that it might be the new 2024 black appearance package looks amazing. It is roughly a $2,000 option, but it does look really great. I'll try to get some pics of those over on the Instagram at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. The 2025, I don't have any pics. Still, it's spy photos. You can catch those over at Ford Authority, but it looks like the Ford Maverick for 2025 will get a bigger screen. I suspect there's good chances we have a bit of modification, a little adjustment, a little newness coming to the bumper and grille. I'd be surprised if they change the hood, but that is the type of thing that gets changed on a mid-model refresh. I think a lot of the huge news, I highly suspect, a very educated speculation is going to be that we'll have an all-wheel drive hybrid version for the Ford Maverick. And if you check out on the internet, if you're on Maverick Truck Club over the years, you'll have seen that people who've had accidents with the Ford Maverick are very impressed. Ford makes these really, really safe. And it doesn't surprise me. Remember, Ford used to own Volvo, Land Rover, Jaguar, Aston Martin. Am I saying that right? Aston Martin, Austin Martin. Anyways, and Mazda. Now, Volvo, for decades, has been the safest brand. And Ford, on the Ford Fusion, the Lincoln MKZ, the Escapes, the Focus, the Lincoln MKC, those were essentially cut and copy platforms from Volvo. They did very little to change the platform. It was essentially coming straight from Maverick. Got Maverick on the brain, love these little trucks. But it was coming straight from Volvo. And, I said little truck, but this is right size, because when you get inside of this, two decent sized men can sit beside each other and not feel like they're on a date. Which, whether that's, whatever, it's comfortable. There's a ton more space than you would suspect. However, the new 2024 Ford Ranger, I found the 23 looked a little small and a little weak looking. The new 2024 Ranger looks the part. It looks a lot bigger and a lot tougher than the Ford Maverick. But then when it comes to interior space, not a huge difference between the Ford Maverick and the new Ranger. Remember, the Ford Maverick and the previous Ranger interior, very similar. The new Ranger is 2 inches wider, 2 inches longer. So it's really nice. I'm really excited about the new Ranger, and that's why we'll get to it in this live. We're going to be covering that in episode 4. So the Ford Maverick, I don't know in the live chat if there's something else before we move on, if you'd like me to discuss about the Ford Maverick. I can tell you that driving it, and this isn't much of a proper test, but driving it in the parking lot, I can say that it felt a little smoother on the suspension, but that's not a proper test. So I am not in a position to say that the 2024 is smoother. Now, will the 2025 be smoother? I'd say the chances are very, very, very high. And the reason for that is because it's pretty much been on the tip of everyone's lips who's driven a Ford Maverick. It's that, oh, well, it handles great, but it's a little rough. You feel the road. And that was always offset by how much weight you could put into the back of this Maverick with it still looking a whole lot better than a Ram that has 1,000 pounds in the box, for example. So not a dig, just a fact. Let's move on. I don't see too many questions coming in. Yes, welcome back to the show, Schwartz. Ridgeview, thank you for dropping comments on the two-door Bronco. Yes, seating is great. Seating space, front or back, on the two-door Bronco is fantastic. If you have a kid that can't crawl into the back, if you have those rear-facing child seats, a two-door Bronco isn't an option, because I'd have to take Layla in my arms, kind of wiggle into the back seat on one side, and then put her into her seat, which is the main reason why I haven't replaced the Lightning already with a manual two-door Bronco. But M. Peugeot brings up a great point. If you don't need that back seat and you put it down, then the trunk space is incredible. Otherwise, a two-door Bronco, trunk space. Marie and I, with the two dogs, could not go down comfortably for our Florida trip with a two-door Bronco, because the dogs need that second row seating. And a new Toyota Land Cruiser. Well, outside reviews, thank you very much for sharing that. TFL has said that the Bronco is better than the Toyota Land Cruiser. So that's great. Thank you very much. That's a fantastic comment. And Peugeot, thank you for pointing out that, no, what you said is that you completely removed the second row seating. Smart man. I like it. I like a lot of the stuff that you do. Send me some photos. Don't forget to send me photos. You can catch me over on Facebook at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, or Instagram at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Love to see those photos. Michael, you're right. It is a 996 Porsche, and we must be getting pretty close. Actually, we're at the time of the premiere, so I'm supposed to have been done this episode, this live. But let's get over to Tesla. So I guess I won't be chatting in that premiere, but please catch it right as soon as we finish this live. Go catch that Porsche adventure / nightmare that we went on, because we try to spend money to bring new different types of content, and it'd be great. We need those early views, folks. So thank you very much. Let's switch over to Tesla news. So we've already talked about the Ford news. I can conclude, I don't think Ford stocks are going to be taking a huge dive because of this news. Ford stock has already taken a little bit of dive, but the market in general has. But Tesla has absolutely shocked the auto industry. So let's get right into this. Just time stamp this here and get the right background, because that is not Tesla related whatsoever. Let's see what we can ring up here. So ringing up some Tesla material, because I think Tesla stocks are going to continue to have a difficult time. Tesla just shocked the entire auto industry with layoffs, slumping sales, and yes, a recall. And a pretty serious sounding recall. But I'm happy Tesla's doing a recall. So much better than hiding a problem or ignoring a problem or denying a problem. Often those three come together from from manufacturers that are playing things as they shouldn't. We want safety as automobile buyers. So from Business Insider, we've got this story from Grace K. Some Tesla factory workers realized they were laid off when security scanned their badges and sent them back on the shuttles. So according sources, claimed this, and that caused some people, it took quite a while to get into the factory, kind of like a little traffic jam for getting into the factory. So Tesla laid off more than 10% of its workforce on a Sunday night when they went in to do their night shift. Some factory employees only realized they were laid off when their badges didn't work, and then they were told to take a shuttle back home. So staff at the Nevada factory apparently waited up to 2 hours to get into the factory. Now, why? What's going on? Why would there be layoffs? Well, there's layoffs not related to the recall. We'll get to that shortly, and we'll talk about the National Highway Traffic Safety, the NHTSA. We'll talk about the numbers. You can go and find it. We'll also conclude what this might do to actual stock price. So if you're a stock holder or a Tesla owner, this is an episode you're going to want to pay attention to. Layoffs are pretty serious. Manufacturers want, depending on how skilled that labor is, but they definitely don't want to lose their skilled labor, because these days skilled labor is very hard to find. So 10,000 layoffs at a factory is very, very serious. Tesla plans on laying off a total of 14,000 of its employees. And the reason for that is, well, in a big part, slumping sales. Tesla has a huge challenge ahead of them. They had a major majority in electric vehicle sales, and that dropped. They went from in the 60 percentile down to 51%. So let's get down to the actual direct numbers. Sorry, that's Layla right here. Layla's not smiling and laughing because of what's going on at Tesla. She just really likes to sit up and get business done. But okay, so I want to get more on this on the screen, but that's fine. We've got an image back there, so I'm just going to switch to my notes here. So what Tesla has been facing is a lot more competition from BYD, that is a Chinese EV manufacturer, and it's tough because Tesla was king in China, and now their homegrown BYD EV, helped out by the government tremendously, and the Chinese government, as they help out their own homegrown, they're not helping out Tesla as much as they used to. So sales have gone down. Tesla is facing huge competition in China, the biggest EV market, from BYD. And BYD has actually moved into Mexico, Europe. Tesla's getting a hit from BYD, and the general market craze, the craziness for the entire craze for electric vehicles has gone down. We see it in resale values. You look at the entire electric vehicle segment 1, 2, 3 years ago, they were the category of vehicle that depreciated the least, and now they're the category of vehicle that depreciate the most. Now that's a big sign that demand and willingness to pay a premium for electric vehicles is drying up. Ford Mustang Mach-E, a sign of trouble for both Tesla and Ford, is how did Ford sell all those Mach-E's and Ford Lightnings 2023s that piled up at dealerships? We had millions and tens of millions of dollars in Mach-E and Lightnings sitting on the lot, paying 7% interest on them. Dealers were getting pretty stressed, a little furious. Ford had to come in, save the day, and they did save the day. They took thousands of dollars off the price, dropped the interest rate by so much. Leases were being offered at, and still are, at 0.99% interest. There's a cost to that for Ford. Ford doesn't borrow at 1% interest and then borrow you at 1%. They must be borrowing somewhere around the 7 percentile mark. So if they're offering 1% interest, 0.99, that is a subsidized. They're paying to offer you that low interest, even on the purchase side of things, which I would definitely lease an electric vehicle. I would not purchase an electric vehicle because of upcoming changes of technology that is going to be, very different and a whole lot better. Even the Jim Farley, the CEO at Ford, has said Gen 2 of electric vehicles at Ford are going to be a huge change, like a huge improvement. And I already found LFP batteries, lithium iron phosphate batteries, to be a huge improvement over lithium ion because of their much lower, 3 to 4 times lower cost. So if ever you have to replace them, it's going to cost you way less. And also the fact that they're supposed to last, or are known to last, to be about 4 times more durable. So LFP batteries are fantastic. You can charge them from 0 to 100% at a fast rate without destroying the battery. So I think that's a huge improvement, and it's being considered, kind of a minor improvement, and that what's going to be the huge improvements are Gen 2 for electric vehicles at Ford. Wow, that's why you lease. And also resale value. If you're on a purchase and you end up wanting to change in 4 years, you might be very disappointed with your resale value. I just took a hit on my Lightning, bought it at 110, sold it for 76,800. Huge hit. And I think Tesla stock, well, it's already taken a huge hit, and I don't, anyone who's looking at Tesla stock and saying, oh, they've gone down, they're prime and ready to double in stock price, so I'm going to go drop a ton of money on it. Well, that's your choice. I'm not a financial advisor, but it's not the choice I would personally make. I have Tesla. I'm a Tesla stock holder, and I thought I bought at an inexpensive price, and I bought a good amount more than where the stock is currently sitting. And why is that stock low? Huge competition from BYD, resulting in layoffs, 14% of the workforce being laid off, meaning big mega plant plans to make mega plants will probably get slowed down because demand has slowed down. Now, BYD in Q1 of 2024 actually saw a decrease in demand, I believe, by 43%. So BYD is taking a hit too. This is a story for all electric vehicle manufacturers. But sales are slumping, not just at Tesla, everywhere. Now, Tesla used to have huge gains, and slumping sales, it's not a nightmare story here, folks. Tesla's not going to go out of business. It's just Tesla used to have huge gains quarter after quarter, year after year, and now those huge gains aren't there. And a lot of the stock price was high because people, planned into the part of the price of Tesla was that, hey, this thing keeps growing. It's kind of like a sure way to make money, and that sure way to make money is gone. So some people are going to move out of Tesla and go into other things, and that also less demand for the stock price, just like the vehicles, have prices come, or production come down. So there's also a recall at Tesla, and I'm not taking this as a bad thing. Just this recall certainly would not have me selling Tesla stocks. EV demand being lower and also interest rates being high, Tesla is a company that is sensitive to high interest rates. Just like solar, just like charging stations, I like the company ChargePoint when I'm pretty much sure that interest rates are going to go down. And for 2023, I am not sure that interest rates are going to be going down. I think there's a possibility that there's no interest rate cut. And if there is one or two, I think it's going to be very much at the end of 2023. Again, not a financial advisor. This is my personal opinion only. So this is not financial advice. But we've got the recall here, Part 573 Safety Recall Report, the code 24V-276. So you've got that right there. I'm not going to put it on the back screen because that is going to get, it's just too much white. But this is what's going on. Number of potentially involved vehicles, 3,878. Estimated percentage of defect, 100%. So what's going on here? It's for the Cybertruck and Cybertruck vehicles manufactured from November 13th, 2023 to April 4th, 2024. On affected vehicles, when high force is applied to the pad on the accelerator pedal, the pad may dislodge, which may cause the pedal to become trapped in the interior trim above the pedal. So you hit that pedal hard, the little pad that's on it could kind of slide off and get caught on the trim. And this could cause the vehicle to, this is good. This isn't Tesla sticky pedal, sorry, Toyota sticky pedal back in roughly 2009. This isn't this kind of scandal, because the Tesla is made with fantastic engineering. Just like their the full self-driving that they're going to be coming out with is going to be, I'm sure, incredible and is getting better and better and is going to help generate profits for the company later. Cyber taxis, I don't think cyber taxis are going to generate huge profits at first. I think people are only going to be taking cyber taxis if they're cheaper than regular taxis. So at first, I think it might cause Tesla to lose money. Another reason why I'm not thinking that Tesla is going to explode. I think that'll happen once it looks like the whole cyber taxi, the automated taxi system is going to make a profit. And I don't believe it's going to at first, but this recall is nothing to worry about in my opinion in regards to stock price, or if you're an owner. If you're an owner of a Tesla, I still wouldn't be worried about this recall, even if they don't get it fixed on yours immediately. I wouldn't just park the vehicle and not drive it anymore and say this is the last time I ever buy a Tesla. And why? It's because the Tesla has great engineering behind it. If it happens, the engineering is fantastic. If you apply the brakes, your brake pedal pressure, the vehicle is going to know you want to stop, and they're going to, even though the accelerator could be, essentially the pedal is going to be to the metal. The software is going to ignore the accelerator pedal. They're going to cut the torque from the vehicle, and you're just going to slow down. Not the case for older vehicles. The Porsche 911, how I cleaned the discs. Now I started driving this Porsche 911 that I paid for back in December, went and picked it up now, and I had this kind of bit of vibration, and this really, I'm not going to imitate the sound, you'll hate me for it, but I had this bad sound. It was like, so I had this bad sound. Third gear, gas pedal down, brake, not all the way down, but somewhat down, to kind of sand and clean the rust off those discs. And that helped me potentially avoid an accident, because those rusty discs, if I would have needed them in some long distance, quick, fast braking, wouldn't have been the best at, having the pad grip to the discs and hold the discs tight or tight enough. So I wanted to get the rust off those brakes quick and fast. So what's going to be going on with this recall? Well, it's not a reason to not get the Cybertruck, but it does have me, raise a small question and a little worry here in regards to how the Teslas are being built. Tesla's been great at coming back and just upping production. They've done an incredible job. It's wild. But there's this whole story that the reason the pedal pad is coming off is that when it was originally fitted on, it looks like it may have been fitted on using a soapy solution. And, if you're fitting on the pad to the pedal, the metallic pedal likely, with a soapy solution, how is the glue supposed to properly dry and hold the pedal in place? I'm not a bioengineer I'm not an engineer, period, and I'm not an engineer when it comes to chemicals and whatnot. I just would think that a soapy solution would cause problems for the glue, leading to an inefficient solution, because the two would cancel each other out. Well, it looks like they have canceled each other out, but minor. Vehicle will stop. I'm sure we're not going to see Tesla stock crash because of, report after report of major crash in the vehicle, because people, if the vehicle starts to continue to accelerate, you just hit the brake and the vehicle is going to shut down the torque. It's, even though the pedal is going to be the metal, the vehicle is going to override that and ignore the accelerator pedal. So that's going to be fine. What does worry me in regards to, so I'd say if you're a Tesla owner, I wouldn't be worried. If you're a Tesla stockholder, I'd say maybe there is huge trouble on the horizon, because as good as cyber taxis or robo taxis, as I saw in the comment, a little Terminator reference maybe, but as good as the taxi system may be, it could be a ton better. But really, how is a ton better, and how can robo taxis be so much better than human taxis? It's price. So that's why I think at first they're kind of like Uber. They're not going to be able to work with the same profit margins. They're going to have to undercut in order to gain the business, and maybe long term figure, well, we'll push out all the competition with lower prices and sustain losses for possibly years, to then be the only competitor on the market, or have pushed out the humans and then raise prices. So I think major profits coming in from the whole cyber taxi, robo taxi, full self-driving is going to be much later on. However, there's profit potential when it comes to full self-driving for the sales of that software, because insiders are saying that full self-driving is really, really good, and that the next phase is going to be fantastic. Hopefully, not just mind-blowingly fantastic, but stock blowing up levels of fantastic. People are going to have to love it to drain some profits out of it. They're going to have to love it's going to have to be really good, and I think it will be. And if you're a stockholder, you have to hope, or not just hope, do your homework, but ask yourself, are people going to spend money for full self-driving, or will they just drive themselves? It'd have to be good, because for me, the Blue Cruise at Ford, spending, having it in an upgraded model could very well have me spend more money on the upgraded model. But as a monthly or yearly fee for Blue Cruise, just so that instead of having two fingers on the wheel, and one hand on my lap, I have both hands on my lap, I'm not willing to pay for that. Now, and this is a question of law, because the law has it that I have to keep my eyes on the road. If I could actually be more efficient with my time and, edit YouTube videos, read through and analyze what I need to do to continue managing my stock portfolio, or sleep, I would definitely pay a certain price. If my productivity can outweigh, and that's, it's a question of how many people are out there whose productivity per hour is worth the price per month of the full self-driving, if you can take your eyes off the road. Now, Blue Cruise, I can say I probably would have paid $200 to $200 per month if it was, the type of technology where I can take both my hands and my eyes off the road, but laws are currently preventing that. Tom Dinder, maybe you're right about that, but I'd also maybe not postulate, here, I'll ask the question. Are BMW owners not the worst drivers on the road? They're always out of blinker signal fluid. Always. They never remember to fill up the fluid for the blinker. So that's the Tesla story, folks. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is Tesla stock going up? Is it going down? This was not this is not in any way proper financial advice. I am not trained in that. I do manage my own portfolio, but I kind of see it as an entertainment tool. Instead of going to the casino, I play the stock market, and that's what I like to do. A little fun hobby. Now let's move over to the story about the Ford Ranger. I'm pretty excited about this, so let's get right into it. let's get right into the Ford Ranger, but not have Elon Musk in the background. And I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's a little interesting. And I'm not going to read that. I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube again and have, being completely deleted get threatened, or no, sorry, not threatened, mentioned, informed. It's good to be informed. It's good to know. But that's interesting there about student loans. And before we move into the last episode, it's also interesting, this carbon tax revenue. So in Canada, it's pretty bad. France has a much higher population than Canada. And Canada has a relatively small population, about 40 million people, and we're paying out $7.8 billion. The government is collecting $7.8 billion in carbon tax revenue. It's really odd because the world seems a little greener since there's been more carbon. And historically, there has been a heck of a lot more carbon, multitudes more carbon on the planet. And the planet was greener, bigger plants, bigger trees, bigger everything when it comes, and more vegetation. And it's odd though, if carbon is such a problem, why aren't we planting more trees? Why is it that we've got this idea from one billionaire that, and not just an idea, an actual plant for, destroying trees and then burying the carbon, burying the carbon because somehow cutting down trees is going to fix the excess carbon situation. And we still have, we've got these tens of thousands of dollars in government credits for buying EV vehicles and batteries batteries do have a cost to the production of them. When, you instead of spending thousands of dollars on that, governments could just give people bidets so that we could not cut down tens of billions of trees per year for toilet paper. And bidets, it's a toilet seat. The cost on it is about $25 per seat cover. It's not a crazy idea, folks, but it is crazy that we're being sold one idea and saying it's the end of the world because of excessive carbon, but then not seeing other solutions being taken to help with carbon other than go buy an electric vehicle. So that was my little rant. I like electric vehicles. I just don't think it's the end-all be-all solution, and I don't think carbon is a huge issue the way plastic pollution is, the way chemical pollution is, and the way that food is covered in pesticide. Where is this government outrage and all the work being done for getting rid of pesticides? Cancer rates are insane. Diabetes, insane. Heart attack, dementia, Alzheimer's. All of this very much linked to sugar consumption, linked to pesticides, linked to a lot of things that happen to be hundreds of billions of dollars per year industries. For some reason, those industries aren't getting regulated, but we are getting regulated out of vehicle ownership, definitely out of gasoline-powered vehicle ownership, quite possibly a whole class of people, the middle class, being pushed out of vehicle ownership altogether. So yeah, we talked about robo-taxis. So this is car related for those of you that'll drop the comment and say, but John, why are you not talking about cars? Why is your show not about cars? The title was about cars. Fair enough, but that's how it's down to talking about cars. Government would also like to know, I bet, what you plant in your backyard, because they're recently saying that homegrown gardens are, this huge source of pollution. It seems more like they want to control the food that we take in. And I wouldn't say in a healthy manner. Remember, the food pyramid puts cereal as a much healthier alternative than eggs. I'm sorry, but my opinion is that eggs are extremely healthy. I eat a ton of them. I eat 5 to 6 every single day. So my private jet is carbon neutral, said every elitist. Yes, we won't mention which one actually really did say that, like being told, well, what are you doing about carbon? And my private jet is using carbon neutral jet fuel. But oddly, Porsche, they've invented synthetic fuel that is carbon neutral, and it's not allowed to be, it's not allowed to be used as the saving force to gasoline powered engines. They really seems to be this forced push into sending all our money off to China as they produce all the batteries and a good number of the electric vehicles. Really, really odd to see governments doing something that doesn't quite make sense, but definitely benefits another country. China definitely benefits from all this push to EVs. So remember, folks, save the gasoline engine and save the steak. We gotta fight for our rights here. We gotta fight to save the steak. We've got to fight to save the gasoline engine. And it doesn't mean that electric vehicles are bad, but I don't think they're the solution. I think they're the solution to a made-up problem. This carbon problem, I think it's pretty made up. Now remember, Ford Mach-E, very safe vehicle. Fords in general, very, very safe vehicles. But remember, I'm going to get to a nice little clip here. It might make you laugh. Hopefully won't make anyone cry. This might make you cry, though. This is pretty. Comparing the new Toyota Tacoma with its kind of double bumper to Hulk Hogan having two mustaches. I thought that was great. That is a little off topic there, but I can't find how else I'm going to plug that into the show tonight. But remember when somehow a 16-year-old was chosen as the mouthpiece and be basically being presented as this environmental, incredibly knowledgeable 16-year-old somehow by the age of 16, able to acquire all the information in order to be able to actually analyze, compare, and conclude that carbon is going to lead to extinction. Well, in 2018, we were told essentially that we'd all be extinct if we didn't change our carbon production, and we didn't. And we were told within 5 years, like, that's the end. It's full out extinction. And I'm not seeing it. I'm just seeing that the Earth overall is greener. Yes, because trees eat carbon. So we need to increase tree production if we want to balance out the carbon. And of course, Mother Nature, the Earth, is good at regulating and balancing itself if we don't completely pollute the oceans and make it so that the oceans can't grow anything. So that is a serious issue. Plastic is a major issue, and unbalancing the oceans is a major issue, because when coral reefs die and nothing can grow in the oceans, well, then the Earth can't balance out all that extra carbon by creating more seaweed and more trees. So we need to make sure that the ground doesn't get polluted with improperly disposed batteries, which will destroy vast swaths of land. But I thought this was pretty good. Big old Corvette engine here. And you've got our favorite little complainer there in the background. For some reason, always attacking a Western produced oil, but never seems to attack a Saudi or Russian produced oil. Either way, that's kind of funny. Kudos. I don't know if someone actually did that or if it's just Photoshop, but I thought that was pretty good. And there's nothing wrong, folks, with having an opinion. I think we should all have opinion, and we should do our best to listen to opposing opinions, because that's how we learn. We learn through debate. The real tragedy is when people aren't allowed to speak their mind because, they're instantly, treated like a horrible person because they have an opinion that goes against the current narrative. So finally, getting down to, I'm sorry, I really went on a rant there, but I really appreciate it. I see in the live that almost everyone stayed through that. Now the rant is all done. We're making it back to the 2024 Ford Ranger, which is the best model to buy. We'll cover that right here, right now at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Don't forget to, Haiti's a very interesting story. You'll want to find out the Clinton, look into the Clinton involvement into, helping Haiti. Some pretty weird type of helping going down there. But what's the best Ford Maverick to get? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that right here, right now. 2024 Ford Maverick. What's the best model to get? What's a model you can actually get? How do you go about getting one? Let's talk about that right here, right now. I ordered a Ford Ranger Raptor, and I think it is an incredible model. It sounds amazing. You got to listen to the exhaust on that. 3-liter V6 twin turbo. It's a complete bomb. And Peugeot, thanks for the comment about the shirt. I like it too. Trying to keep it easy today. Thought if I put it on, I could stay stress-free and not go off onto a rant. But if you're watching the live, you've seen that. If you're watching this as a mini episode, thank you so much. Don't forget, thumbs up. We're going to talk about, subscribe, share this content. Don't forget to turn bell notifications off. If you actually want a Ford Ranger Raptor, good luck. They're an extreme low supply. Some dealers are even telling people, for example, in Canada, one dealer told one of our viewers that only 6 Raptors would be given this year to the entire province of Alberta. And, some provinces, 1. I don't know if it's going to be that bad. I know as a dealer, we're getting one, and we're not the only dealer in Quebec getting one. And I do know that one of our viewers over in Australia said that he was like, Johnny, you're having trouble getting your Raptor? Wow, that really sucks. My dealer has, and I think he told me 7 on the lot that were for sale. And even if they weren't for sale and there are customer orders, 7. I'm not getting a Ranger Raptor. The one that we're getting has been allocated to someone. So what then is the best model? Well, if you're looking for value, the XL is fantastic value. It doesn't come with rims. It comes with like steelies, or what we here call rims. It comes with an actual wheel, a full aluminum wheel that's not going to rust over time. It will drive it through all the summers, winters, salt, calcium, mud, rock, whatever. This thing's going to look great for years and years to come. But how great does it look? The styling's not for me, but the price is $44,065 starting Canadian MSRP. That is a solid deal. Now you could go up to a Lariat, and you are going to get considerably better wheels here. If you go up to a Lariat, you're going to get better wheels, but this isn't longer. It's not wider than the XL. It is 2 inches longer and 2 inches wider than the 2023, and the look is amazing. I parked my Bronco Wild Track. That is the model below the Raptor, thinking my Wild Track is going to completely eclipse this. I gotta check this out. Let's see how big the Ranger looks. And I thought it would eclipse it, and it didn't. It really, really didn't. The Bronco parked beside this thing made me think, wow, the Ford Ranger, the all-new 2024 Ford Ranger is a big deal. It's a big deal because at roughly 44,000 Canadian, you can get an XL, and it's not going to look like a puny little wimp parked beside one of the biggest Ford Broncos you can get. And the Ford Bronco is huge. The grill's up high, it's squared off. You walk beside one of these Sasquatch models or Wild Track models, and you can tell it's a big deal. It has a huge physical presence in a parking lot, on a road. It even looks pretty big beside an F-150. The Ranger looks really big, but is it really, really heavy, making the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder turbo engine a bad option? No, the straight 6 is a reliable engine. The 2.3 liter has been around since about 2016. It's a fantastic engine. It's got enough power for the 2024 Ranger. Now, if you're power hungry, if you're all about that pedal to the metal, miles per gallon, entertainment level coming from your vehicle, then the 2.3 liter might not be quite enough. But it does, because it doesn't, the 2.3 liter in the Bronco I've tested often, it doesn't really fully kick you hard into the seats, but it does accelerate really quick. So the 2.3 liter is going to be a good engine for this. I mean, I've got a review out from when I test drove, I think it was a 2022 Ford Ranger Tremor model with the 2.3 liter, and before the test drive, I thought it was going to be pretty lackluster, and I was impressed. And the 2.3 liter in the Bronco sounds great. It actually kind of sounds, there's more sound than from my 2.7 liter, and I was like, wow, this is really nice. It sounds good. It accelerates quickly. The new Ranger, the extra width and extra length makes it more comfortable, makes it jump around less. The back end isn't going to jump around all over the place. because the wider a vehicle is, better track, better width, and a little bit better length adds stability. And 2 inches doesn't sound like much, but it's a ton. It's a ton. Everyone's going to be happy with how this thing comports itself. But which one's the one to buy? Well, if you really like equipment, the Lariat at $56,515 is the way to go, but it's not the way I would go. I think the best value, the absolute best value, we got to check it out here. I think the way to go is the XLT. And I just want to pull this out. I am having trouble with the slides today here. So the XLT here, let's see what this looks like in the real world with some real world conditions, a little cloud, a little rain. XLT looks fantastic. It now comes standard with the Sport package. So you're not XLT right off the bat, you get the Sport package. You don't have to pay for all this great extra looks. And I think this does look a lot better than the XL. But how much more does it cost? I think it's really worth it. Here we've got one at $49,269 Canadian, of course. But what's the overall cost here? Starting price, $48,315. And you've got a great looking truck there. You've got a lot of comfort. And with the 2.3 liter, you have a very capable engine. But I think the real bargain, you get either get an XL with, you know what? I don't think the XL is going to have the 2.7 liter V6 twin turbo engine available for it. I think it's going to be available on the on the Lariat and available on the XLT, but I won't be surprised if either as an XLT it takes like a special package, for example, maybe a Tremor package, or if it requires that you don't just take a straight XLT plus engine, maybe it'll be XLT plus one or two of the added on packages, increasing the price there by $3,000-$4,000, and then adding on the $2,000-$3,000 motor. But think about it. Just there, you've got pretty much pure perfection out of a mid-size truck, which isn't so mid-size anymore. A lot of people are, renewing, going back to shop their Ford F-150s that they bought back in 2015 to 2021, and they're looking at the new F-150 and are saying, oh, wow, that's a lot more per month. Here's an option. Now, of course, at first, the interest rate's going to be high, but if they ever do start to pile up on lots, then interest rates will be cut. If they don't pile up on lots, well, then it's going to be like Toyota Tacomas. The interest rate month after month will remain high. But if you can get a 2.7 liter V6 come probably sometime this summer that will be able to order it into an XLT, you essentially have a Raptor on your hands without the suspension and the tires. But if you don't really need the suspension because you don't plan on going jumping in the desert or go high-speed driving over the whoops or, crawling through rocks, of course, you can always get the FX4 package or just put the blindage in French, but the skid plates underneath the vehicle. But this would look pretty awesome. 2-inch lift in the front, bigger tires, bigger and aggressive tires. And just there with your 2.7 liter, you've got a baby Raptor, or what we could call kind of your homemade Tremor. But of course, if you go with more of a lift and change out the suspension and put quite big tires on, you can kind of get it into looking like a Raptor without spending $83,000 Canadian. So with this being starting price, of course, without the $2,000 for transport and handling, but let's say essentially $50,300. And even if it costs $5,000 in added options, plus the engine to get the 2.7 liter V6, 55 versus 83 makes the XLT an incredible bargain for a motor that you can just chip if you want to have Raptor 3 liter power out of your 2.7 liter V6. Just chip it. And then you've got a whole lot of money left over for whatever suspension, wheel, and tire kit you want to throw on this. And yes, the Raptor will always have that, Raptor resale value. It's known as a Raptor. You've got the whole wow and cool factor behind it. But if you want to have the the factor, the wallet factor, where your wallet isn't completely flat when it's in your back pocket and you sit down, but you gotta, your wallet's still a little thick and you sit on an angle. Well, then your cool wallet factor is gonna go for modifying an XLT with a 2.7 liter. But for me personally, if I get a 2.7 liter instead of really long haul waiting this Ranger Raptor I can't get my hands on, it'd be a 2-inch lift. And with a 2-inch lift, the biggest, most aggressive tires that I can fit, probably BF Goodrich KO3s, and I'll just run those year round, and I'll sell the original tires, which on the sport model don't look bad, but they certainly don't look aggressive. And I like to sometimes go play around in a farmer's field or go through the woods with a mix of rocks, mud, go through streams. And I like the look, I like the look. It's not just for the off-roading. I like to show up looking tough at the Costco. So that's what I think. Please let us know in the comments, what is the right Ranger, all new Ford Ranger model for you? And yeah, and Peugeot, that's a really good point. Your 5-liter STX F-150 that was a smart buy, and you got it at the right time. Prices on the big trucks are forced to go up because of, taxation. Automakers need to have a really high mile per gallon fleet average. Otherwise, they pay billions of dollars to the government or Tesla. So we got to think here. Now's the time. Even though the prices have gone up, I don't expect these prices to go down unless these environmental rules and fines and carbon taxes come down. And yes, the carbon taxes can end up costing a lot. In some countries, they treat the citizens like in a certain manner, as if they can charge whatever they want. Because look at this. A small country, population-wise, huge physical presence, tiny population. We've got about 40 million. Look at, France. I don't have the population numbers from France, but France must be in the hundreds of millions of people living out there. And the annual revenue in 2022 for carbon tax was 8.9 billion, while in Canada 7.8 billion. This is what happens when you're not willing to kind of put your foot down and say, you know what, we're going to have to protest about this. We're going to have to kick and scream and complain. It's ridiculous. And this was in 2022. Carbon tax in Canada has gone up much, much higher. And this year, it's in the process of going much, much higher. And we're having trouble, I'm saying we Canadians in general, not us personally, but in general, Canadians are having trouble with the cost of housing, rent, food, and heating, and and fuel prices. But when roughly 60% of your fuel price is taxes, it makes it pretty hard. So that's the show for tonight. You got to figure out which Ford Ranger works for you. So let us know, for the all new Ford Ranger, which model would you get? What do you think is the best bargain out there? Thank you so much, folks, for watching. I really appreciate the community here. I see that there's a lot of chat going on in the live chat this evening. I think that's fantastic. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone, for making it in. Thank you so much for watching, taking the time to chat with the community here. Randy, thank you. Ridgeview, thank you very much. Brother, Marine Vet, brother, thank you so much. You're a huge supporter. M. Peugeot, always entertained by you. You used to, when Marie was on the show, she used to always be just trying not to break out laughing with everything that you'd write, because she'd follow through the whole chat. People, ladies and gentlemen, really appreciate you all. Take care. Have a great week. I hope you have a blessed week filled with future good or great health and wealth. Take care, everybody. See you in 2 weeks for the next live, and please catch our Porsche premiere. Even if you're not interested in our whole Porsche adventure, if you can just let that run in the background, you'll really be helping the channel out. Hope you get to put the pedal to the metal, folks, but not in the Tesla type way where it gets stuck like we talked about tonight. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.